Hello, my fellow Love and Deep Space Battle nerds. It's so nice to have you here. My name is Peach, and welcome to this dedicated video for our recently promoted and very handsome doctor, Zayne, God of Annihilation. Once again, we have a case of an explanation salad going on in the skill descriptions, so I'll try my best to break down his kit in simple steps so you can fully understand how he works and unlock his maximum potential in battle content. So make sure to like and subscribe if you like videos like this and want to see and learn more about Love and Deep Space combat. Starting with the basics, as various lovelies, including me, foretold, Zayne's new myth has pink stalactrums as it is his third main color, and they scale off of attack plus our max HP. This means that when we select him as our companion, we should try to build as much HP as possible to boost our damage. But we will talk more in depth about the protocores and substats we should look for at the end of the video after we do a full analysis of his kit. Before I dive into his skills, I want to give you a heads up that I will not be mentioning the amount of damage every attack does. I feel like it takes too much time and it's not extremely relevant to the explanations, so I'll just put it on the screen and at the end I'll display them in a nice little table with each of the attacks and their respective damage from most to least powerful. Now let's jump into his key mechanics with his passive skill, Fateful Bond. Keeping the trend going, God of Annihilation has an additional skill called Bind Gaze that allows us to enter the state Deity of Niava. But before jumping on the details of his enhanced state, we have to talk about the mechanics that we must go through first in order to unlock this state. First, we have the 3 stacks of Divine Shackles that we can see as the yellow bar under our HP bar. These are literal shackles as we have to get rid of them in order to use Zayne's new skill. This is how we get rid of the shackles. Every time we hit an enemy with a normal attack, Zayne will load 1 golden arrow, and he can load up to 4. We can see how many we have in the golden marks on our back. When we use our charge attack, Zayne will shoot the golden arrows that we have accumulated so far, and these golden arrows will leave 2 marks, one on us and the other on the enemy. The ones we see on our back are called remnant feathers, and when we use our active skill, the feathers transform back into golden arrows that we can shoot either with a charge attack or by pressing our active skill again. The mark left on enemies is called arrow mark, and they appear as golden lines crossing their bodies. Once they get 4 arrow marks, 3 things happen. 1 Divine Shackle is removed, we get 0.35 energy charge, and finally Zayne does a follow-up attack called Terminus Arrow that restores 5% of our max HP to Zayne and us. After removing the 3 Divine Shackles, we will see the icon for Bind Gaze pop up over our active and resonance skills. After we press it, we will enter the Deity of Niava state, which lasts 10 seconds. In this state, the enemies will have a round yellow light in their centers. These are called soul rifts. When we use our charge attack on them, their soul rift will shatter, dealing damage based on our attack and max HP. After we shatter their soul rift, they will reappear after a 6-second cooldown, giving us another instance to do more damage. But there is a way to make their soul rift reappear faster, and that is by using our active skill. I must confess that I had a bit of a confusion here, cause in the passive description it says, if your active skill hits an enemy for the first time, if that enemy has no soul rift, the interval before its soul rift is revealed again will be reduced by 0.5 seconds. At first I thought, so the cooldown will be reduced to 5.5 seconds then. Okay, a little stingy, but okay. But after doing the training for God of Annihilation and double checking that he was indeed rank 0, when we use our active skill when in Deity of Niava state, it doesn't take over 5 seconds for the soul rift to reappear. It appears 0.5 seconds after the first active skill hit. I'm not sure if this is a mistranslation, a mistake overlooked by the devs, or maybe a last minute change, but it was very confusing because even in the demos of the training, they teach us to use our active skill as a way to quickly refresh the Soul Rift cooldown. But somehow in the description, it kind of says otherwise, so yeah, it was confusing. My theory is that it was maybe a last-minute addition, probably accompanied by a mistranslation, because as we will see in a little bit when we go over the dual rank buffs, R1 has this insta-reveal mechanic after using our active skill, but as we have something very similar in R0, it takes away a bit of the relevance of the R1 buff. This mechanic might have been added last minute-ish, probably because in their internal testing they could not do the second Soul Rift shatter in time or struggled to do so before the 10 seconds were up, so they probably patched up the oopsie with this active skill mechanic to compensate. But that's just my theory, of course, I might be totally wrong. Anyways, back to his passive descriptions. Another interesting thing that happens when we are in the Deity state, his support skill is transformed to Divine Sever. This version of his support skill doesn't have a cooldown, instead it only becomes available after we shatter a Soul Rift. With these conditions, we will probably be able to use Divine Sever 2 to 3 times per Deity state, depending on our duo rank. So far from his passive alone, we can see that our charge attack is the main trigger for a lot of God of Annihilation mechanics. That 4 is the magic number we should keep in mind when it comes to arrows and marks, and that our active skill helps with speeding up the general process of removing Divine Shackles and refreshing Soul Rifts. Now let's talk about the duo ranks. Here we have 2 kinds of buffs, the standard ones that are present in all duo ranks across companions, and the specific companion buffs. I'll only mention the specific companion buffs to save a little bit of time, but I'll still show on the screen the standard ones. Remember that the specific companion buffs are only active when we use the solar memories with their respective companion. Okay, with duo rank 0, when we use our charge attack, we become unstoppable and take 40% less damage. And while we are in the Deity of Niava state, we get an 8% damage boost. If we have duo rank 1, we get the following buffs during Deity of Niava state. First, instead of only charge attacks, now normal attacks can shatter Soul Rifts too. Second, using our active skill on enemies without Soul Rift will reveal them again instantly. This reveal is indeed faster than the one we have in R0, and it works on the first hit of our active skill and the second hit with the transformed active skill. And finally, Divine Sever now creates a crowd control array that will pull enemies in to then explode, doing damage based on our attack and max HP. For duo rank 2, when we shatter a Soul Rift, Zayne and RMC will each recover 5% of our max HP. And finally, for duo rank 3, enemies hit with Zayne's follow-up attack, Terminus Arrow, or Deity of Niava's Divine Sever, they will take 30% more damage for 4 seconds. Additionally, for each normal attack we do, instead of loading 1, we will load 2 golden arrows, making the process of removing Divine Shackles much faster. If you ask me, I would say that rank 3 and 1 are by far the biggest improvements battle-wise regarding damage and ease of use, so if you want and can do that kind of investment, you go boo. You will be super OP. Now let's go over the other skills of Zayne, God of Annihilation. Following with his support skill, Endbringer Arrow. His support skill has 2 versions, the normal one that has a 10-second cooldown and that can become empowered if we perform a perfect dodge, and the one we can use during Deity of Niava state, Divine Sever, that can be used only after shattering a Soul Rift. In his support skill description, they clarify that Divine Sever's damage counts as a charge attack damage, that it is not considered a support skill and that it cannot be cast consecutively. I believe this is a detail we have to keep in mind, mostly when we're doing content like Abyssal Chaos or Unicorns operations, as there are items, gears and buffs that affect specific skills, but it is not extremely relevant in other battle content otherwise. Now his resonance skill, Divinity Order. With a 15 seconds cooldown, Zayne's resonance skill acts as a crowd control, gathering enemies together and dealing AoE damage based on our attack and max HP. This skill can break one Protocore shield stack, but if we are a Stalactrum match, we will be able to break 2 stacks. And finally, his Ardent Oath, Aengru Radiance. Just like all other Ardent Oaths, this is the most powerful attack we have. Without Oath Recovery Boost Protocores, Ardent Oaths have a cooldown close to 67 seconds, so the time for this attack to be ready fully depends on the percentage of Oath Recovery Boost that we have in our Protocores. Next, let's talk about our weapon, Divine Grip. This time around we have a Claymore as our exclusive companion weapon. On testing, it doesn't feel as clunky or heavy as our standard one, so if you're not a Claymore fan, I think you might find this one easier to use than others. Now let's talk about our basic attack, Order Rupture. It doesn't really have anything of note regarding the normal attacks, but in the charge attack description, they added another instance of damage that caught my attention. In the second slash of our charge attack, the hit applies an effect on the enemy called Rupture Mark. It is a short damage over time or DOT effect that deals damage every second for 2 seconds. Sadly, this effect cannot be stacked, but I still found it very interesting that they added this kind of damage dealing mechanic in this kit. Next, our passive skill, Divine Slash. They state in the description that we are, quote, more resistant to interruption while attacking enemies, end quote. But sadly, they don't specify a percentage of resistance to interruption to spec, which is a little disappointing. Some details about our active skill, Divine Judgment, are in our passive description as well. While we attack with our active skill, we become unstoppable and take 40% less damage. And after we cast it, Divine Judgment is replaced by Divine Slash for 4 seconds. When we cast Divine Slash, no energy will be consumed and the accumulated golden arrows will be fired at our enemy target. More or less, it would be an equivalent to our charge attack. And finally, our active skill, Divine Judgment. It has a 10-second cooldown, and right after the attack animation finishes, we can press our basic attack to immediately chain a charge attack. This I did find a little curious at first, because I thought it redundant, but after more testing with his R3 in the companion rehearsal, I see that this was implemented as a faster way to shatter the soul rifts revealed by our R1 active skill, giving us a chance to use Zayne's transformed support skill up to 3 times while we are in the Deity of Niava state. This is a very nice addition to make the attack chain even smoother. Okay, after all that yapping, here is a table with almost all attacks. As you can see, including our charge attacks and active skills, we have a lot of instances of damage with God of Annihilation. Now, let's talk about ability priorities, aka rotations. In Zayne God of Annihilation's case, they made his kit very rotation dependent, as we have to follow specific steps to unlock his special state in a timely manner and to be able to do as much damage as we can. Lucky for us, the rotations are quite short and simple once we understand how his kit works. The rotation might vary a bit depending on what duo rank we have, but the structure stays more or less the same. Let's start with our battle priorities. First, our general battle priority is if we have shields, we need to break them as soon as possible, and that means that we should use our resonance skill off cooldown. Second, specifically for God of Annihilation, we need to remove the 3 Divine Shackles in order to access his special state. And third, once in Deity of Niava state, we need to break enemies' soul rifts in order to use Zayne's transformed support skill, which is one of our most powerful attacks. With this in mind, we can start to picture how a battle would look like. At the beginning of the battle, we should go ahead and break shields with our resonance skill. Now we have 15 seconds to do the chains of attacks needed to unlock God of Annihilation's additional skill, Bind Gaze, while we wait for our resonance skill to be available again. The chain we should do is the following: 4 normal attacks followed by 1 charge attack. That would be tap 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 and hold. One of these chains of attacks removes 1 stack of Divine Shackles. We can do less than 4 consecutive normal attacks. If you do this, you will be able to see the arrow marks on our enemies, but it will make the removal of Divine Shackles a bit slower, as you will have to compensate for the missing marks with some more normal attacks and 1 charge attack to finally get rid of 1 shackle, taking extra time. So, the most efficient way would be to do a single chain of 4 normal attacks plus 1 charge attack. Another way we can speed up the process is using our active skill, as it will convert the green feathers we have on our backs into 4 golden arrows. And if we press our active skill again in the next 4 seconds, it will immediately fire the 4 arrows, removing 1 more Divine Shackle. A little footnote here though, we should try not to dodge while the animation of the second active skill is ongoing, cause otherwise the arrows will be fired but they won't remove the shackle, so we would have wasted our active skill for nothing, aka no bueno. So to remove the 3 shackles, we can do 3 chains of attacks or 2 chains plus active skill. Now, free of our shackles, we should have access to the special skill Bind Gaze that will allow us to enter the Deity of Niava state. Before using it though, we should use our hopefully available already resonance skill to break shields. I really don't recommend you to do Bind Gaze and then Resonance Skill, because the Resonance Skill animation is long and it will use almost half of our special state time. So try to always do Resonance Skill and then Bind Gaze. Once in Deity state, we only have 10 seconds, so we should go straight to break the enemy's soul rifts with our charge attack, and then use Zayne's transformed support skill, Divine Sever. To reveal the soul rifts again, we should immediately use our active skill. The soul rifts should appear shortly after to break it, and then we will be able to use Divine Sever again before the Deity of Niava state expires. In this case, the chain of attacks would be charge attack, support, active 1, active 2, charge attack, and support. If you have duo rank 1, remember to cast the first active skill, shatter the new soul rift, use Divine Sever, and then quickly use the transformed active skill to make another soul rift appear and use Divine Severed for a 3rd time. This chain would be attack, support, active 1, attack, support, active 2, attack, and support. After the Deity of Niava state expires, we would have completed 1 cycle. If there are still enemies standing, then we should just rinse and repeat. Regarding to when is the best time to use Ardent Oath, in God of Annihilation's case, the description of his passive doesn't include any mention of enhanced damage during his special state, but the duo rank 0 does. We get an 8% damage boost when in Deity of Niava, so if we are using God of Annihilation with his solar memories, we should use our Ardent Oath when in the Deity of Niava state to make most of that 8% buff. But if we use God of Annihilation with other solar memories, we can use our Ardent Oath just whenever the shields are down, as the dual rank buffs won't be available in that instance. So in summary, the most important attack chains we should remember are 2, maybe 2.5. First, 4 normal attacks plus 1 charge attack equals 1 shackle. Second, active skill 1 plus active skill 2 is equal to 1 shackle. And third, in the Deity of Niava state, for R0 is charge attack, support, then active 1 plus active 2, and then charge attack and support again. Now let's talk about what Protocore stats would be the most fitting for our handsome Zayne in his god era. As we already talked about in the beginning, his scalings are based on our attack and our max HP, meaning that the substats we should prioritize in our Protocores are HP or HP bonus and some attack and attack bonus as well. Crit rate, crit damage, damage boost to weakened, and oath strength are our universal stats, so having those in the substats as well are always welcomed. As for his main stats, starting with his solar protocores, his kit mostly relies on normal and charge attacks, but we still have to use our active skill quite frequently, so having energy boost in our beta protocores would be a good idea if you don't have dual rank 2. Every time we remove a shackle, we do get a 0.35 energy charge, but to make sure not to run short on energy, a single energy boost protocore should be more than enough. As for the other beta protocore, depending on your playstyle and your duo rank, you can choose between an oath recovery boost or HP bonus. As some of you might know, I'm not a big fan of Oath Strength as a main stat, as the percentage we get even with high investment is not very big, but if you have R1, you can switch the Recovery Boost Protocore for HP bonus or Oath Strength, as you have a 20% reduction in Ardent Oath cooldown, and this way you can boost your damage further. For Delta Protocores, as you might already know, it solely depends on the type of enemy we are fighting. For normal enemies without shields, we go for a crit rate and crit damage build. You can do 3 crit rate and 1 crit damage Protocores, or 2 and 2. The only thing you have to keep in mind is having a 1-to-2 ratio of crit rate and crit damage. For elite enemies, you can go full damage boost to weakened, as the time the enemy will be with their shields up will only be around 5 seconds or so. You can replace one damage boost to weakened Protocore with a crit rate Protocore too if you would like. And for bosses, as we won't be able to destroy their shields fully in a short period of time, I would recommend a mix of damage boost to weakened and crit rate. It could be 3 plus 1 or 2 plus 2. You can absolutely go full damage boost to weaken too. But considering the amount of time that we will be hitting the boss with their shields up, it wouldn't hurt to have a hybrid build. Now, some final thoughts. Overall, I think Zayne, God of Annihilation, is extremely strong, just like our other 2 new generation companions. But I feel like, especially in this case, his strength is tied to an increased complexity, meaning that we only get big damage if we understand his mechanics and execute the right chains of attacks. But once we learn them, he is a very rewarding companion to have in battle. He quite literally annihilates every enemy, so I would totally recommend pulling for him if you're still on the fence about it. Alright, my lovely battle nerds, I think this is all for today. I really hope this kit breakdown was helpful to you, and if you think I missed something or if you have any questions about Zayne God of Annihilation's kit, let me know in the comments below and I'll try my best to reply as soon as possible. By the way, I'm really sorry for being absent the past month or so. I've had quite a bit of IRL stuff going on, some even health related, so I've been trying to take things nice and slow in efforts to not get burned out. I'll try my best to stay constant though, as I enjoy analyzing lads battle stuff and uploading my silly nerdy videos. But yeah, know that I'm still working on content and even some visual guides, but a bit slower than usual. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you left a like or a comment, as they encourage me to keep making more content like this. And if you'd like to see more kit breakdowns or more Love and Deep Space Battle content, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any future uploads. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and hope to see you again in my next video. Ciao ciao!